Melvin, it's so lovely to be able to catch you. You look very chilled out where you are right now.
Yeah,
Are you working from home?
that's right.
Yeah. How I hope that it looks like a comfortable space. I'm in my bedroom too, actually, set up in the studio. So not quite in my bed, but close enough. Right.
Yeah, this is probably my first radio interview from my bedroom. So
Oh, well, there you go. I've got a first from you or with you. Um, Melvin, I want to get started and talk to you about how you think and how your thinking has actually really propelled you to sort of go the distance in whatever it is you want to be doing in life. I think everybody's going through a really hard time right now. The world's in a bit of a crisis, and I think that what you have to share about some of the situations you've been through and experiences could really help people with what they're going through right now in terms of challenges and huge obstacles people are facing. So let me ask you, how did your fibrosarcoma that led to your amputation create a paradigm shift for you as an individual?
I think in life, just like in my case, having fibrosarcoma, having cancer, and losing my right leg to it, is that we all will go through different time and phase in our life where it changes us as a person. In this case, I have to go through an amputation, and I realized very early on, right after that, that I have to do whatever I could to just continue moving forward and not to let any of my limitations be a limitation. So I constantly try to do things differently and reminding myself that whatever that I want to achieve is possible. So it is constantly having that mindset of knowing that everything is possible, and as long as I put my time, my effort into it, then I can get anything I want.
Were you, I mean, always like that? Because I know, sometimes things happen and it's a need. We don't necessarily meet that need though, because a lot of people sort of get stuck in that moment before the magic happens or the paradigm shift happens. But were you always, so I guess positive in your mindset, or was there something that happened afterwards?
Is more definitely happens afterwards. And I think sometimes it's like we may be caught in this cycle where we will still be making the same mistakes, and sometimes it will still take a little push from a certain event or even a certain um, friend or family member who would probably able to help push us out from this cycle so that we can move forward. And I think it is perfectly okay to feel that you are or in my case, that I feel that I was completely lost. I didn't know what direction I am heading to. I am definitely confused, think not knowing what to do, what I could do. And it's more important to realize, even that having that helplessness moment, that you can actually still, realizing that, then you can do something about it. So I think it is perfectly okay for us to be in a state of mind that we are not sure where we are heading, but it's more important knowing that you have still have to push on forward.
You brought up something interesting about having the awareness that you're there, and it's okay to be there, but having the awareness that that's where you're at is the helpful thing. Am I right in understanding that?
Yeah. So
Mm.
of course, most of the time we may feel that if we know what is going on, we thought we know
Mm.
what to do. But then more importantly, I always remind myself to think of what are the things that I do not know that I do not know. So that that
It's a
is something
great
that
question. Yeah,
you have to ask myself, this is something that I didn't know.
right,
But what is it that I didn't know? Then what can I do about it? So
right.
there you go. Yeah, that same question that you asked yourself.
Okay. Um, this reminds me of something I read once that you said along the lines of, I always think that we're not handicapped by our disabilities, we're handicapped by society, whether it's society's rules or society, whether it's teachers, education system, whatever, telling us we can do this, we can't do that, in terms of what we can achieve. um, what what would you say um, was that moment with you where you sort of realized that this is what was actually happening across the board for everybody?
I mean, looking at myself, of course, as an individual, as a person in Malaysia right now, going through this difficult period, I think we all can be very worried, unsure of the future, not knowing when the pandemic will come to an end, and it probably won't. And we have to learn how to live with it, and life, not just businesses, is changed by it completely. Some people close to us, we are, of course, now most of us would know friends and family members who had COVID, or even suffered from it, or and losing them, some of them as well. We 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 I know that this is a difficult time for a lot of people, including myself, and we may be feeling very hopeless, and thinking that a lot of things is literally falling apart around us.
Yeah, you could say handicapped by fear, right? Handicapped by absolute fear and all of those negative emotions. Quite paralyzing, really, right?
Yes, that's right. So likewise, I mean, instead of looking at things like, of course, like when I say the quote of being handicapped by society, this is something that, well, just like me, not just losing my leg, but we as a society, we are putting the limitation on ourselves, and with all these things crumbling down around us, but it's knowing that, hey, there is light in the tunnel, and that we can come out, strive from it, find new opportunities from it, and do whatever we can to climb out from it, so that not to let any of these limitations to continue further to pull us down.
Hmm. I just wanted to ask you about the idea of the concept of the darkest night or the dark night of your soul moments. We've all had one, if not more. Um, with yours and your moment where literally, everything changed. It wasn't just sort of one aspect of your life, but everything changed more or less at the same time. Looking back, what did you learn about yourself and what you wanted from life in that moment that has allowed you to be thinking in this sort of way, in this solution-based sort of mindset?
I think whenever I share about myself, it seems easy to look at my history, my past, and of course, losing a leg when I was 17 years old definitely was one of the big change or catalyst in my life that made me
Mm.
who I am right now. But I think that we as people, we as human, we constantly have our demons to face, our dark moments, and it can be something that visits us regularly,
Mm-hmm.
and is more of knowing how to be comfortable firefighting these challenges, these problems, living with it, and knowing how to live with it as part of you, rather than hoping that this will just be something that will pass. Because I
Right.
think that in life we will continuously have new dark moments
Mm-hmm.
coming to us. It's like, just when you think we with just when I think things is getting better, it got worse. So it's more of continuously learning to live with it, and to
Right.
expect that even if things doesn't seem to be improving, but what we can do to make the best out of it.
It's really interesting because sort of, so many people are always banging on about you have to be positive, you have to be positive, and it's really refreshing to hear you say, no, you don't have to be. You can be miserable as hell, know that you're miserable as hell, and know that you're in a dark place, but be okay with that and live with that.
Exactly. Yes.
Um, okay, I want to talk about doing the impossible. Now I know you have your own explanation of or opinion on this word impossible, and I'd love to get to that in a second, but let's talk about the seemingly impossible. You made it into the Malaysian Book of Records for climbing Mount Kinabalu, and even more unbelievable or incredible was you making it to Everest Base Camp. When you decided to embark on this kind of adventure, and you started many years ago, Everest was not so long ago. When you started, how did your family and friends, the people who loved you, react to this version of Melvin who wanted to go and climb a mountain?
Family and friends were very worried. So out of concern, they were totally against it. And it is, I think this, of course, for me, is like being one-legged, climbing mountains sound like something that is very dangerous to do. And I have to admit that after climbing all these different hills and mountains, it is definitely a very risky task to be taking if you are not well prepared for it. But
Mm,
just like anything in life, is that we have to prepare ourselves mentally and physically, spiritually as well, if
right.
to make sure that when you are going into something, you are prepared for it, so you are not worried by what could happen, when you know that, hey, you are taking all the precautions. So
Okay. Yeah. Carry on.
yeah, so I think a lot of people could reflect on this, is that we all have our mountains to face, mountains to climb, not just the real physical mountains, but
Mhm.
knowing that, hey, this is this obstacle that you have right now. What can you do to climb over it? What can you do to train yourself to be prepared for it, so that when you go into it, you know that the destination is not just reaching all the way to the top. That's just halfway. But the more difficult part is actually having all the strength and energy to climb back down to where you started.
Right. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to ask you this, right? You talk about planning and preparation, but we all know that life gets in the way of best laid plans, as the saying goes, right? No matter how much you prepare for something, things go wrong. All right. So I want to ask you, you're trying to get to base camp, Everest base camp. I'm sure it was extraordinarily difficult. I would never even think about trying something like that. Um, at any point, did you just kind of go, oh my gosh, people are right. I'm crazy. I'm going back. I'm stopping. I want to give up. And at that point, what happened? What did you do to keep going? Like, that's what I'm interested in.
If I look back at Everest base camp, the nearest comparison I could give is like it's like climbing Mount Kinabalu continuously every day for 10 times the time and duration.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
So physically, mentally, it was still the most challenging thing that I have ever done. And looking back, it was there was definitely a continuous moment of like questioning myself, why am I doing this? And I have every moment, every reason, even all the symptoms to allow me to just say, okay, I need to stop.
right. You had all the excuses that you could use to kind of
Yes.
honorably quit, as it were.
Correct. My face was bloated. My heartbeat rate is over the roof. Uh, I had a constant, uh, severe headache that every step was like painful,
Oh, I
and
can't
and
imagine.
and every step I take, I probably have to breathe like 3 times before I managed to take the step. And we were like literally crawling and not even walking.
Oh my goodness. It sounds like hell.
Yeah, so I mean, recently I watched back the movie Everest, and
Yeah.
although it was not in that dramatic uh, uh, portrayal in the movie, but it
Mm.
definitely felt that same sense of hopelessness as we were going going to the top.
Okay, so you're painting this picture that it was like an ongoing battle with yourself on this. So what stopped you from quitting? You had all the excuses. You could give up any time honorably, and everyone would go, "Wow, you already succeeded just by even getting to where you were." Right?
But
What was
I
it in
thought you
you?
say the key point is I didn't quit, and why and how. So at that moment, I remember that I am doing this not just for myself. So it was having a reason, a cause that is bigger than myself.
Which
So
was?
I was raising money and raising awareness for the underprivileged children. So that was a cause that I was advocating, and that was bigger than me, bigger than life. So I knew that I have to do this to make a point. I cannot just give up over excuses like, I'm having this pain or that pain. I knew that, to make a point, I have to go all the way. So I think just like in life, it's like a lot of people will say that they want this, they want that, but why aren't we getting what we want? Then I have to come back to the basic that maybe the reason is not strong enough. So when
Oh, the
the
reason for wanting
reason,
to do it.
cause,
Right.
yes, that why you want something so badly, if you really wanted it so badly, you will do whatever it takes to get it.
Hmm.
But I mean, I'm not. Of course, in this context, it's like things that we can do with our own effort and hard work, and not in the context of stalking someone or
Yeah.
getting stealing something. So
Right.
in the right way
Yeah.
that we can work for what we want and
Mhm.
do whatever it takes, and we can get it.
You make it sound so simple. So I'm going to ask you this because I think this is one of the things that makes life harder for a lot of people are these sort of uh, perceptions or expectations that people have of you. So with you, in your case, it's obviously you've had to deal with other people's perception of you about what you can or can't do. Has that been detrimental to your mental health? I mean, what kind of things have you had to deal with over the years that you've had to sort of brush past and work through in order to keep doing what you want to do?
I feel that, we as human is is something that we may not admit, but we are very realistic in what we see and what we like, and people already have their idea on what you can or cannot do without knowing you. So I mean, in my experience, I have to look back at my um, relationships with people close to me. So it's more like, even family members would already decided that, I shouldn't do this or I should do that, and I totally understand where they are coming from, but it is only ourselves who can bypass that limitation, so not to let anyone put a limitation to what we can do, and stop all these, naysayers, and and go out and just just thrive, as I say. So,
Just try. I love it. Just try.
and I mean, it can be influence from people, and when someone keep on repeating something, it's like a whisper or a little devil on your side telling
Right.
you what your limitations are. And in my case, I've been probably having this self-esteem issue of people uh, looking or staring at me, and
Mm.
it probably, it made me into, I probably consider myself a late bloomer, and I never had a girlfriend until my late 20s, and I thought that, this is it lah. I'm I will be single forever, you
For
know.
the rest of your life, I will never kiss a girl. Right. Okay.
Yes. So never had the experience, never knew what to do, never. Then I know that, hey, I must not let this limitation be something that, dictate my life. What can I do about it now that I know that, okay, if I am, I mean, if I am afraid of talking to girls, maybe I just start learning basic things, how to have small talk silly things. How's the weather? What do you like? What do you like to do? What you like? So what movies you like? So we,
Yeah.
we learn how to tackle small problem one step at a time. So yeah, I mean, it's like relationships, right? There is no textbook teaching us how to go after someone you like, and we were taught that, hey, guys have to go after a girl, but I didn't know how. I don't have a textbook. It's like, okay, and is there a guide on how a disabled man can go after a girl? So there was no guides like that, and I was completely clueless myself with all this uh trial and error, stepping on nails all the time. So it's more like
Yeah.
same thing in life, that we have to experience it through some
Yeah.
rejections, some pain,
Yeah.
but
You
knowing that
gotta
knowing that every failure is just one step closer to your success.
you gotta break a few eggs to make an omelet.
Correct.
um, okay, I want to talk a little bit about how you don't just think of yourself. Um, in fact, you think about society. Um, it matters to you how people are doing. Um, you have a business, it's all about microfinancing, it's all about helping people be able to afford the things that they need to. a very different new business model. Now, the pandemic's hit and everyone's having to pivot and adapt and come up with sort of different ways of doing business or changing business entirely because the way the world is going. And you seem to be following a model that actually doesn't just benefit yourself. It's not I must survive, but it's we need to survive. Why is this important to you?
With this pandemic hitting all of us straight to the face, and just when you thought that it's coming to an end, I think most people would realize by now that it's not going away anytime soon.
Oh,
And
really? No way.
if anything, I mean, I'm no expert, but I have to expect that this is in the long haul, and whatever that we can do is that how we can put ourselves in a position that we can still sustain our life, and at the same time um able to succeed in it. So it's more like knowing that, hey, the our needs and demands, our most basic needs cannot be changed. I mean, we still need to eat and drink every day. We still must have a roof on top of our head. So the same thing with my businesses is that we do a small financing for a very simple model where we allow people to buy anything now but pay it later slowly. So
Mm-hmm.
it is a model that works very well. Or of course, as a company, we are in this for profit, but at the same time,
Right. Yeah.
for the masses, is a solution that allows them to solve their most important needs right now. So it could be anything, even as simple as, hey, my my home fridge is broken and we cannot escape but to get a replacement. But
Mm,
how can we get it without breaking our piggy bank for it? So we
right.
allow them to actually purchase things, although at of course with extra premium, but then it allows them to pay it over a very long period of time. We are talking of 1 year or more. So it allows them to spread their their pain of at this difficult time to a much longer
Mm,
period. So what we are always constantly trying to do is that what on helping people, but at the same time we are not doing, of course, not doing this for free, right? But it's to allow people having an option to choose.
right.
Yeah.
So, how is this? I'm sorry, I don't understand anything about the world of finance, but how is this different from your normal loans and hire purchases that you can get? You can go to any shop and sort of pay things in installment or take loans out. Like, how is microfinancing in your particular case different?
The problem with all these loans and things that is offered out there, it's actually still mostly cater to people who are more um, successful. It's like
Right.
it's like all these 12 months installment loan from when you buy something from IKEA, for example. In IKEA, you can
Right.
only use it if you have the right credit cards. So even the percentage of
Ah,
people having credit cards is actually very small, and the credit
you're talking
limit,
about access,
yes, the
right? You're talking
access
about
to it is
access.
limited,
Mm,
very limited. Although for those of us who has access to it, yes, we can take a loan to buy a car easily. Today I
mm,
submit my documents, the next day I get my loan approved. But it's
right.
not the same for the majority of people in the world. Even
Right.
in Malaysia itself, eh,
Mm,
the people who is able to get a bank loan is extremely low. It's almost the
mm,
same thing that I can say for all the stimulus plans that is announced by the government for even for SMEs. Is not everyone who can access to it. And although
Right.
they can guarantee up to how many billions that is available for the taking, but how many companies out there are even able to benefit from this? So it's actually the same situation and the same problem that I as an individual would face, or I as a company or SME in Malaysia would be facing. So it all boils down to who is able to help you when you need help right now.
Mm.
So our
It's
solution is solving the problem
right,
immediately. So
right.
so we are trying to solve problems, but of course, having said that, we don't just give away like free money or what. I know I'm not in the position to do that. I'm not the bank, but we are
Hey,
trying to
there's
solve.
nothing wrong with wanting to make a profit on your company. I mean, the fact that you're, to actually use the analogies that you've been bringing up and talking about, you're using the word able, you are making them or giving them the ability so they are able to access things that they need that make their life better. You're actually creating a smaller microcosm society that is helping them, enabling them so they aren't handicapped by their lack of access. To use all of these words that kind of surround someone like you with, one leg, actually, let's look at how, as you say, society is handicapping and disabling us in these sorts of ways, right?
Yes. So of course, just as the pandemic is handicapping most of us, so don't let this become a handicap, and instead we learn how to live with it. And all this solution, all these things around us is there, but we still have to know how to access to it. It's like it's just the same like my company, we are even providing like affordable cars for leasing. And it make people who has no access to transportation able to get um, uh, cars from my company at a much easier process.
Mm-hmm.
So we may not be able to solve the whole nation's issues immediately, but what we are trying to do is just solving one problem at a time.
I love that. So let me ask you, as you said, as we know, thanks to this pandemic, people are facing some of the hardest challenges of their lives. And as someone who's faced extraordinary challenges themselves, what advice would you give to those facing adversity? How can we become more limitless?
I like this quote that says that when it is the darkest of the night, it's just a matter of time before it's sunrise again. So whatever difficulty that we are facing through will pass. And so be reminded of that and know that we can and will be able to survive this together.
Just keep going. That's what you keep saying, right? Just keep going.
That's right.